I'm Margot. Thank you for joining me for this morning's story. I wonder how many of you are big brothers or sisters. It's kind of fun having a little brother or sister to help look after, isn't it? Most of the time. Well, today's story is about a very brave big sister who looked after her little brother in a very special way. Long, long ago, God's people, the Hebrews, had moved to a land called Egypt. At first there was just one family, Jacob's family. Jacob was the grandson of Abraham, who was God's special friend. And Jacob had been invited to live in Egypt by his son Joseph, who was a very important ruler in Egypt. But that's another story. Hundreds of years had passed, and now there wasn't just one family of Hebrews, there were thousands and thousands. There are too many Hebrews, the Egyptians complained. They might rise up and overpower us and rule us, and we're not having that. Well, the king of Egypt had an idea, a very nasty idea. He told his soldiers, "Go and kill every Hebrew boy." Well, the Hebrews were frightened and sad. Jochebed was a Hebrew mother, and her daughter Miriam were very frightened and sad too. Jochebed had just given birth to her baby son, and Miriam loved her little brother very, very much and helped her mum to look after him. At first, they tried to hide the baby. Now, if you wanted to hide your baby brother or sister, and please don't, but if you wanted to hide your baby brother or sister, where might you hide them? In a cupboard? Under the bed? Who said in the washing machine? Well, it was okay at first for Miriam and Jochebed, but then it got trickier because, as you know, tiny new babies might sleep a lot, but as they grow, they get bigger and wrigglier and noisier. They cry a lot. Jochebed asked God what to do, and God gave her an idea. She took a basket and she painted the outside of it with tar to make it waterproof so that it would float. And then she put her baby in the basket all cozied up and took the basket down to the river. She put the basket in just by the reeds, close to the river bank, and gave it a little push so that it bobbed and floated down with the current. Jochebed asked God to look after her little baby. Big sister Miriam hid among the reeds, and she followed the basket as it bobbed up and down and floated along the river. Miriam wanted to be sure that her little baby brother kept safe. Well, the basket bobbed and floated right to where the king of Egypt's daughter had gone to bathe in the river. Fancy that! Do you know, I think God had special plans for this baby. The king's daughter saw the basket and heard the baby crying. She picked up the baby, who stopped crying, and gave her his cutest ever smile, with a little wobble of his lip that would melt anybody's heart. "I don't care if this baby is a Hebrew," said the princess. "I'm going to keep him, and I'm going to call him Moses." And she held him up and frowned. "But he'll need someone to change him," she said, as her nose drew level with the nappy end of Moses. And as she said that, Moses began to yell again. "And feed him!" the princess shouted over the din. And that was just the little push that big sister Miriam, who'd been hiding all this time, that's just the little push she needed to pop up out of the reeds. "I know someone who could help," she said, overcoming her fear. "Well, fancy that," said the princess. "Go and fetch her." And who do you think Miriam ran off to fetch? That's right, Jochebed, the baby's very mother. "Fancy that indeed," smiled God. And that's how little Moses would be raised as an Egyptian prince by his own Hebrew mother, who would teach him about God and God's chosen people, with, of course, the help of a big sister. God did indeed have a plan for Moses and for his people, and you'll hear about that over coming weeks. Meanwhile, thank you for listening, but remember, don't hide your baby brother or sister, especially in the washing machine, and don't try floating him down any rivers either. But do be kind and helpful. God has plans for us all, and you'll be helping God along, just like Miriam did.